Spare a thought for the Walt Disney Company. It's been having a rough time lately. Earlier this month, it was revealed that the new live-action remake of Snow White wouldn't be getting a UK premiere. Instead of the usual big-budget, star-studded affair in Leicester Square, there would be only a handful of small, tightly controlled press events. Then, Disney announced that even the Hollywood premiere would be significantly pared back. Last month, the cast attended the usual party and screening, but crucially, no outside media or photographers were invited to the festivities. This was all highly unusual for a Disney film with a budget of around $270 million. So why is Disney trying to draw as little attention to this film as possible? Addressing the lack of a London premiere, a Disney insider told the Daily Mail that the event had been scrapped over fears of an anti-woke backlash. This insider also claimed that Disney wanted to minimise the amount of press questions that Rachel Zegler, who plays the titular princess, could receive. Disney is apparently terrified of letting the media anywhere near this film and its star. And no wonder. This Snow White adaptation has become more nightmare than fairy tale. Before it even hit the big screen, it was swamped in endless controversy. Zegler, in particular, has proved to be a walking PR disaster.
I'm a narcissist!
In 2022, she gave a now infamous red carpet interview in which she lambasted the original Snow White movie as dated.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
The love story between Snow White and Prince Charming was apparently weird too.
Weird.
Zegler promised that the new live-action version would focus less on romance and more on women being in roles of power.
She's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
In a follow-up interview with Vanity Fair, she also criticised those who were making jokes about ours being the PC Snow White, because, yeah, it is, because it needed that.
Yes.
On top of taking swipes at the very story she was supposed to be telling, Zegler recently insulted a large portion of Disney's audience.
Not a great plan.
In the immediate aftermath of last year's US presidential election, she posted on Instagram that there was a deep, deep sickness in this country. She called Donald Trump someone who threatens our democracy and fretted about 4 years of hatred that he would bring to America. She took aim directly at the 77 million Americans who voted for Trump, saying that she hoped Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace.
Great job!
She later apologised for her comments, but the damage was done, with many Trump supporters vowing to boycott the new Snow White movie. Snow White's frosty reception can't be put down to Zegler alone, however. When the official trailers were released, fans couldn't help but notice just how ugly the film looked. Chief complaints were the terrible lighting and downright hideous costumes. As a result, the first trailer received around 1.4 million dislikes on YouTube. Most visually offensive is the film's depiction of the seven dwarves. Unlike all the other characters, they aren't represented by human actors, but by janky-looking CGI. This is because the question of how to portray the dwarves caused Disney no end of headaches. In 2022, Peter Dinklage, a prominent actor with dwarfism, criticised Disney for planning to remake what he described as a backward story of seven dwarfs living in a cave together. He called it backwards. In response, Disney announced it would be taking a different approach to the traditional depiction of the seven dwarfs, in order to avoid reinforcing stereotypes. Shortly afterwards, pictures of a merry band of race, gender, and height-diverse characters emerged in the press. But these then generated their own backlash, and so they were replaced with CGI. After that, other actors with dwarfism became furious with Disney for robbing them of their dream roles and of representation on the silver screen. They even staged a protest outside of Disney Studios in Burbank. Disney isn't even calling the characters dwarfs anymore, but rather magical creatures. As such, any reference to dwarfs have been dropped from the title. Clearly, Snow White and the Seven Magical Creatures didn't have quite the same ring to it.
Put another gay diverse woman in it, make it more lame!
Given the many controversies surrounding this movie, Disney clearly feared that Snow White would flop spectacularly. And, thus far, it has. While it's obviously embarrassing that Disney lost all confidence in its own movie, a movie that should, by all rights, be a guaranteed moneymaker, the Snow White fiasco does show that Disney may finally be noticing that going woke means going broke. For the past few years, Disney has been doggedly pursuing a woke agenda in practically all of its output. From Star Wars to Marvel to its pantheon of princesses, ideology has trumped entertainment. The Marvel Cinematic Universe in particular has been badly hit by the company's woke turn, with the latest installments in the franchise setting all the worst records. The Marvels, focusing on 3 diverse female leads, suffered the franchise's worst ever opening weekend at the box office in 2023. This ensemble movie failed to break even. And no wonder, given that it followed a cast of characters fans didn't care all that much about, and was produced mainly for representation rather than storytelling reasons.
How long will you play Captain Marvel?
I don't know, does anyone want me to do it again?
Then there was the much-mocked She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, which followed the exploits of a preachy green girl boss. The show received abysmal audience ratings and failed to be renewed for a second season. Then, earlier this year, Captain America: Brave New World became MCU's worst reviewed movie. In this latest Captain America flick, Anthony Mackie took over the titular role from Chris Evans and proceeded to anger fans with some questionable comments about the character, appearing to blast its patriotic associations.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations.
Judging by the lukewarm reception Brave New World has got so far, audiences aren't keen on this oddly self-loathing take on Captain America. After too many flops to mention, Disney seems to have finally learned its lesson. Chief Executive Bob Iger recently announced that the company would move away from promoting any kind of agenda. Infusing messaging is not what we're up to, he said last year. We need to be entertaining. Now there's a thought. As part of this, Disney is scrapping many of its DEI initiatives and is trying to direct its considerable resources to making good content rather than right-on content. Last month, an internal memo revealed that the company would prioritize business success over diversity and inclusion. It has also shut down its program, Reimagine Tomorrow, which was dedicated to amplifying underrepresented voices and untold stories, as well as championing the importance of accurate representation in media and entertainment. More publicly, Disney has started to remove trigger warnings from some of the classic films on its streaming service, Disney+. Many of these warnings were introduced after the murder of George Floyd in 2020, when Disney pledged to fight back against systemic racism.
This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly, but fires have been started.
It started slapping its older movies with these warnings, which would play before the movie began, about harmful stereotypes. One, before the 1941 classic Dumbo, warned viewers that it included anthropomorphic crow characters that ridiculed enslaved Africans on southern plantations. Meanwhile, one before the 1970 film The Aristocats warned that the Siamese cat character was depicted as a racist caricature of East Asian peoples. Disney is winding back these warnings, shortening them and hiding them in a separate About section in the film's descriptions. It seems to have suddenly realised that its audience is not made up of simple-minded drones, likely to be turned into racists by exposure to decades-old animated films. Disney is finally waking up to how much audiences resent being treated as moral inferiors, and how much they resent being forced to consume bad films, which were created for the purpose of representation, even re-education, rather than good storytelling. Unsurprisingly, people want to actually enjoy the films they pay to see in the cinema or stream at home. They want to watch feel-good fairy tales with their kids, not be lectured to by some 20-something actress who gets paid more per movie than most people will earn in a lifetime.
My agent's over there. Hi, Ken. My lawyer. My entire family is here. Hi, everybody. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Disney and so many other corporations are realizing that the public have had a gutful of wokeness. The only question is, what took them so long?